Hi. Today I'm going to talk about two key terms we all hear all the time: accountability and the responsibility. Oftentimes, people use these words interchangeably, but they're having a totally different meaning in management. Both these words are really important to build the trust and to get the results. First, let's look at the difference between these two terms. Responsibility in the sense, doing a particular task. In an organization, you are responsible for your task and someone is responsible for another task. You are responsible for your part and another one for another part and another one for another part. Likewise, it's all about specific actions you have to take to execute your job. Most of the cases, you have to have a specific knowledge and a specific skill set to execute those tasks. In an organization, responsibility lies for many people. For example, the cleaning lady, she's having a responsibility. CEO is having a responsibility. Marketing manager is having the responsibility. Finance manager is having the responsibility. Accountability in the sense, owning the outcome. That means you are answerable for the results. You are answerable for the outcome. It may be good outcome, it may be bad outcome. But most of the cases, you are answerable when the things goes wrong. No one is going to question you when the things going right. The critical point is, even you don't personally handle a particular task, you have to answerable for them. When you are answering the outcome, when something goes wrong, you can't point the finger because of him, because of her. That is ultimate responsibility lies on you. Therefore, accountability in the sense that you are having the overall responsibility. This accountability most probably lies on one particular person, the manager. In weak organizations, you can see people are pointing the fingers for each other without executing their responsibility. I couldn't do that because of her. The weak sailor always blames the wind. Just like that, the weak manager always point the finger for others rather than taking the accountability. According to my own experience, there should be another very important component if you want to be excelled in accountability and responsibility. I would say that is personal ownership. So when you're having the responsibility, you have to have the personal ownership for the task you are doing. That means imagine a situation that this task given to you, just like your personal work. Most of the cases when you're having our personal task, for example, taking the kid to the school, doing our own homework, we take the full responsibility. But when it comes to work, we tend to neglect that. So rather than doing that, if you take the personal ownership, you would be more clear about the responsibility. Just in the same way, if you're accountable for something, take the personal ownership. Think about just like your own project. Think about just like your personal project. Imagine a situation that you are responsible for a very important project which is going to close on tomorrow. Today is a holiday. It doesn't matter, even today is a holiday. You call to the relevant people, you call to the relevant responsible people, and you make sure that the things are going smoothly. That is what we call the personal ownership. You can see the competent leaders, they take the personal ownership. If they couldn't do that, they give the resignation and they leave the organization. You might have experienced sometimes the state leaders who are really accountable, they leave their post when they couldn't execute their task properly. For example, during the COVID-19 period, there were some prime ministers, they resigned because they couldn't lock down in some places. They take the ownership, they take the accountability, they leave their roles. But this doesn't mean that you have to be over accountable. Now, if I put a spectrum like this, no accountable and over accountable, you should never go to these two extremes. No accountable, you understand. If a person doesn't take the accountable, he's not a leader. He should not suitable to become a leader. On the other hand, over accountable in the sense, you take the responsibility or the overall responsibility which are not aligned with you. For example, you are a team manager and you are doing the work of the other people. You are doing the work of the team members. That's not meant to be for you. Maybe you are a marketing manager or a finance manager. You are having a meeting with the CEO. During the meeting time period, you rescue the poor performers. That's totally bad because they will not understand their mistakes ever and they won't be groomed and developed. Some managers, they claim the fault for every mistakes what the other have done, saying it's my fault, it's not their fault. There are some managers, they try to fix everything by themselves. Therefore, please understand, you have to strike the right balance between these two extremes when you become a manager. And at the same time, remember, when you give the responsibility for someone else, you have to empower them. Now, giving the responsibility without empowering is really stupid thing. For example, you do a particular task to execute for a particular person and you're expecting the results from him, but you don't know whether he can do that or not. Sometimes he doesn't have adequate knowledge for that. Sometimes his skills is not up to the standard. Therefore, you just want to empower the people and at the same time, you have to upgrade their skills, knowledge and give the responsibility and the authority. Let me give you some real world scenarios to explain you this contrast in terms. Imagine you are a project manager and one of the person is responsible for handling the budget. That means you don't need to do the budget on behalf of him. He is the person assigned to do that task. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for the project success. That means you are having the overall responsibility of the project. If something goes wrong about the budget, the management will question from you that you can't come up with excuses. He doesn't know. It's not my fault. If he doesn't know, that means he doesn't have the adequate skills. That means you have not trained that person adequately. Maybe the reason you have assigned the wrong person to the wrong task. That is again your mistake. Therefore, you have to accept that. You have to be very careful. Most of the managers, when they are telling accountable, they take it very lightly and they pass the ball for the other people. That's not the case that you have to do. As a manager, you have to have the final responsibility. If something goes wrong, if it is not going to work, you are the person, you are the ultimate person responsible for that. Now imagine a situation, you are a sales manager and there are sales reps in your department. They have to prospect, they have to find the prospective clients, and they have to read the potential clients, they have to convince them and get the sale. That is their responsibility. But finally, you are responsible for the sales outcome. You are responsible for the sales target. If you couldn't hit the target because of your team members, the fault is in you. Maybe the reason you have recruited the wrong people in the sales department. Maybe the reason you have not motivated them enough to execute their task. Maybe the reason they are having the lack of skills in different areas, maybe prospecting, maybe closing the sale, maybe convincing. Oftentimes, people think accountability and responsibility are attitudes. In one hand, yes, of course, the attitude, the way you think about these roles is different when you have the responsibility, when you have the accountability. But on the other hand, these are skills that you can develop the accountability skills, that you can develop the responsibility skills. Now we'll see how you can build the responsibility and accountability skills. If you are working in an organization, you are given a JD, job description. There are many tasks, but most of the cases, people don't know what to give the priority. There are specific tasks. If you give the laser-like focus on them, you can complete 80% of your task, 80% of your responsibility. Therefore, you just want to have a skill to identify what are the key areas or the key results areas which will contribute 80% of your responsibility. You have to give the first priority for them, because if you ignore them, if you postpone them, you won't be able to execute your responsibility. And not only that, you just want to develop the skills in these key areas. If your skills are lacking in these areas, you have to develop. You have to have a professional development plan to do them smoothly so you can execute your responsibility without having an issue. So when you execute these tasks diligently, that the management is having the trust on you. Your immediate boss is having the trust on you. He can rely on you. Most of the people, they don't ask from their management if they're having a doubt, if they're having an ambiguous situation. They wait for the last moment and they can't execute the task, and everybody suffers because of that. Therefore, you just want to speak up with your management. You just want to have the regular communication with your management. You have to clarify what is unclear. You have to clear your doubts about the things that you have to do. You know what? Sometimes the priorities might be changed. Goals might be changed. Unexpected situations might happen. Therefore, you have to adapt to the situation. Flexibility is really important. Now, for example, you are working 9 to 5. Sometimes when the demand comes, when there is a high demand, you have to work in the weekends. You have to work till the night. It won't happen every day. But sometimes you have to adjust your time schedule based on that. That additional commitment you have to have if you want to execute your responsibility. You have to set clear goals. The goals have to be smart, specific, measurable, realistic, achievable, and time scale. You have to be very clear what the success look like. Your team members have to be very clear what the success look like. You have to have crystal clear key results. It will make sure that you are going to get into the destination. According to my personal experience, I have seen many managers, they give the task, they give the responsibility for the team members, and they expect that the things will work smoothly. It won't happen in the real world. So you have to motivate the people. You have to go behind them. Most importantly, you have to have the regular check-ins. Sometimes there may be roadblocks, sometimes there may be challenges, sometimes there may be unexpected situations. You have to get involved in this. That's the role of a manager. You have to support your team members. Therefore, rather than waiting for the last moment, you have to have regular check-ins whether things are going on smoothly. It's really important. You have to be proactive when you become a manager. This is one of the ways that you can develop the accountability skills. Now imagine a situation you assign a particular person to do a specific task, but according to your past experience, that particular person is not executing his task properly. Therefore, you have to have a backup plan. You have to train another couple of people for that. If he couldn't execute the task, you're having another plan. You're having a B plan. After completing every project, you have to reflect and you have to learn. You have to learn from the outcome. What went success, you can repeat the same thing. What went wrong, you can avoid these things in the future. When you are proactively involved with this, you can execute your task, the project task, very smoothly. I hope these insights are helpful for you. If you have any queries, comments, please leave them below. I'll respond you as soon as possible. See you soon. Good luck.